The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to talk about problems to look for in your tomato and garden, as well as old garden wise tales. Our guest is Dominique K from FarmUnique.com, and you'll answer your garden questions. The hour is full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2025, through a radio app, through a podcast replay option, through our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab at the top of the page, in-studio video replay, or again in podcast. Thank you so much for doing it. If you want to be part of the program, you can certainly participate by sending us an email at gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com, or give us a call, toll-free, coast-to-coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. 1-800-927-7469. Before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
How do you get the perfect garden beds?
I'm going to overthink the water, good compost.
Through trowel and air.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pest insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
See, I don't know what she's going to ask, so I don't cheat and go, what are you going to say? So I can know. No, I have no idea. Also, do you know what this episode is, Holly? This show halfway. The bottom of the hour will be 16 and a half shows complete and 16 and a half shows to go. 35 shows each year.
I'm starting to run out of garden jokes.
Oh, you'll have plenty of garden jokes. If you've got a garden joke, send it in to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear yours. They got to be PG. They got to be clean. They got to be...
Somebody sent us one once, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Rescue, the sponsor, they sent us several.
Oh, yeah.
They sent us several.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to get in the program here. Problems in which you should be looking for in your tomato or garden.
Yeah, so this can be exclusively for tomatoes, or we'll talk about some other general ones. But you want to definitely be looking for problems, and that probably is opposite of some advice that maybe you've received from your parents. Don't go looking for problems, but in your garden you want to look for problems.
It's not a set it and forget it. It's not a Ron Popeil chicken roaster.
Yeah.
Remember those the info commercials? Sunday afternoon? Yeah, all these things. Okay. Blight is one of the most persistent problems you're going to face in your tomato patch. Now, you have two types of blight. You have early blight and you have late blight. Late blight is an airborne that comes later in the year. We've experienced one time because we were picking tomatoes a week before Thanksgiving in our then Zone 5, now transitioned to a Zone 6 because of the USDA and the changing of the growing zones early last year. Blight, we'll talk about early blight. It is a bad bacteria that's in the soil that when it rains or you water, soil splashes up on the plant and progressively works up the plant, discoloring the leaves, killing them off, and by the time the season's over, you've got a plant with limbs and tomatoes and no vegetation on it, no leaves, so it cannot grow or produce. There's a couple of ways in order to combat that. Most of us have our tomatoes in the ground already. Yay, good for that. You can go out there, and there's 3 simple steps here. 1, use yellow whole grain cornmeal. Yellow whole grain cornmeal. You're going to get the good kind, and you're going to take 1 handful and sprinkle it around each plant. Then you will there's good bacteria in that yellow whole grain cornmeal called trichoderma that fights the bad bacteria. Second step, some type of mulch, leaf chemical-free seed grass clippings, pine needles, straw, some type of barrier in order to reduce the amount of soil that will splash up when it rains and also hold moisture in. Third step, as the season progresses, continue to trim the lower 6 to 8 inches of leaves and limbs from ground level up the stalk and anything in the canopy that has the potential of getting soil splashed up on it, even with the mulch. So those 3 steps, you'll increase your tomato production, and by the end of the season, when frost hits, you'll have a big, still, lush, beautiful green plant that is producing tomatoes. Leaf curl is another problem.
Yeah, leaf curl is exactly as it sounds. It looks like the leaves are curling, and it might even look like the plant is a little bit dehydrated, but that's not the case. It is a somewhat common problem for tomatoes, and I think people tend to get it in like larger cities, right? Like
it can happen anywhere.
Well, it can happen anywhere, but
environmental stress, especially from heat, lack of moisture, poor soil conditions. Other factors can include diseases, pests, and even herbicide damage, chemical drift.
I think that's kind of the problem. Is the chemical drift is the common problem for the leaf curl.
Everybody wants to spray this or that with a dandelion here or on the sidewalk, and they don't read the back of the package. They see the commercial, they see the happy guy spraying the weeds, and it's working, and oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. So they just grab it, and on whatever day they want, they just go out there and let it have it, and it drifts everywhere.
Right, and that's a problem is because they're not conscientious.
And just because it's that kind of weed killer, vinegar can do the same thing. If you've got a horticultural grade vinegar, like from Nat Green Products, that will drift, and that is a non-selective. It will burn and potentially kill anything that it comes in contact with.
Yep, and so you have to just be aware of your impact of what you're doing. So another problem is insects like spider mites. We don't get spider mites,
no,
but some people do. And a lot of times, you have spider mites because you'll see teeny tiny little holes in the leaves of your tomato plants. Or if you look underneath, you'll see this very light webbing. It's not like going to be as obvious as a regular spider webbing. It's going to be more, what's the word? Compact?
Mm-hmm.
I guess compact is almost...
Well, that's just it's a little netting, a little web. That's just one of several different problems in which you can have when it comes to insects. Aphids, 5-spot hawk moth, whiteflies, flea beetles, thrifts, brown
hornworms.
Yeah, hornworms.
Yeah.
Stink bugs.
Let's talk about hornworms.
Okay.
So hornworms are very evil to your tomato plants. You'll be like, oh, I'm going to harvest those tomatoes tomorrow. They're almost ready. Or, in a couple of days, I'm going to harvest them. And then you go out and it looks like a little kid came and ate all around your tomatoes and just left kind of the core. And sometimes you'll see like black droppings, like teeny tiny little black droppings, and it's the tomato hornworm. And they will eradicate a whole entire crop of tomatoes or a whole row or whatever in overnight.
There is not enough time to talk about all the things in which you can do and try to prevent your tomatoes from getting hornworm attacks. But if you've had it don't plant the tomatoes in the same spot you had last year if the problem was last year. If you've already done that, then there are different remedies or methods in which you can try to identify them through black lights and all that. Here's a simple way to do it. Add bird feeders. Add into your tomato patch, regardless if you have hornworm problems or not. Tuna can on a post, some old seed, some peanuts, bird seed. You can actually hang commercial grade bird feeders to bring those birds in, and you will be amazed of how controlled the insects are in your garden when you allow birds to come in and feast off those insects while they're eating bird seed. Blossom end rot. Real quickly, we want to talk about that, because people still don't know or won't accept the fact that adding Epsom salt or magnesium or powdered milk or Tums, that doesn't fix the problem.
Right. So blossom end rot is when your first harvest or first fruiting.
It could be any.
Well, it could be any time, but it's typically the first fruiting where you go out and you're like, oh, this tomato looks pretty, and then you look at the bottom, which is the blossom end, and it's dark brownish, blackish, looks rotten. It's because of lack of access of calcium to your tomato plants. And what happens is most of us, will plant the beginning of the season, we'll have some rain, and then you're not watering regularly, it gets dry, your plants aren't able to access that calcium, and blossom end rot is a result of that. So what you need to do is just make sure you water regularly. You can use irrigation, get yourself on a schedule, whatever you need to do. And with that, we'll give you the plants proper access to all the nutrients in the soil, including calcium.
There's nothing wrong with adding fertilizer, and there's nothing, if you feel that you have a calcium deficiency, the only way you're going to know this is with a soil test from soilsavvy.com. Powdered milk doesn't work. Tums, you need 80 tums per tomato plant in order to have any available usable calcium in the soil. And magnesium is a waste of money because you all have 99% of you all have perfect amounts of magnesium in your soil. And calcium in your soil. The Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. That doesn't fix a calcium deficiency. It's when you're watering, you're adding moisture, which is releasing the locked up calcium in the soil for the plants to pick up. If you do see on your first set of fruit, the bottom portions of the plant fruit being blackened because of the lack of available calcium, water immediately, remove those green tomatoes because there's no need for the plant to utilize energy in order to develop more tomatoes when they're going to be rotten on the bottom. The next set of fruit that will develop in the next few days, if properly watered, will be just fine. Also, what's just fine is Walton's Inc., Holly.
Yeah, we're brought to you today by Walton's Inc., our sponsor. We know you care about where your food comes from. Canning, preserving all of your fruits and vegetables and is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. You can also go to meatgistics.com. It's an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They have a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.
When we return, some old garden wise tales. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Check out ivorganics.com. It's America's leading garden product YouTube channel. IV Organic products are innovative, organic, effective, and proudly USA made to help you achieve your best growing season. Use coupon code RADIO10 at checkout and save 10% on your entire order at ivorganics.com. That coupon code again is RADIO10 to save 10% on your order at ivorganics.com.
Totally Tomato is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of tomatoes online. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at totallytomato.com. That's code 15TG25.
One Sweet Earth makes the last garden bed you'll ever need. Strong, simple, sustainable. One Sweet Earth beds slide together in minutes. No tools, no rot, no junk. Durable, non-toxic, woman-owned, made in the USA. Visit onesweetearth.com.
Good garden tools make gardening easier. Wisconsin-made Cobra Head tools simplify weeding, cultivating, digging, and planting. Favorites of professional gardeners, Cobra Head tools are durable, ergonomic, and easy to work with. Visit CobraHead.com and use coupon code SOIL for 10% off your order. David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company, is a landscaper you need. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at jungseed.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at jungseed.com.
My garden hasn't looked this good in a decade. That's what gardeners are saying about Carricade. No extra fertilizers, no harsh sprays, just thriving plants and massive blooms. Rated 4.8 stars. Shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's Radio10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com. Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com. Wind River chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Welcome back to the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you around today and allowing us to be part of your day just for a little bit. Want to find out more about those sponsors that financially contribute to the program to allow us to be heard on your radio station each week, or find more about those coupon codes? All that can be found at our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab and the Money tab at the top of the page. Well, there's a lot of old wise tales, and we cover some of them on a weekly basis, it seems like, Holly, but we're going to go through a list of them in this segment.
Yeah, so we kind of touched on this in the previous segment. You were talking about Tums and powdered milk, but the other one is eggshells for calcium in your soil, whether it be for your tomato plants or just something that you put in your soil to help increase calcium. And it's not completely untrue. It's just that it's not going to break down and apply calcium as fast as people think it does, unless you were to actually pulverize those eggshells. So,
and even that's 12 to 18 months.
Right. So it's not something where you put this in, on Thursday, and then your plants are going to magically have all the calcium they need by Sunday. It does take time. It takes time to break down. Anything you add to your soil, unless it's like a liquid or a granular that is designed to break down or engineered or whatever you want to call it, is going to take time, especially something that is
compost. A liquid or a compost tea is a very easy thing to make, and will take effect very rapidly and give the plants basically that nutrient boost. It's the energy that it needs in order to fix the problems in which it may have.
Right. So it's not completely untrue, but it's also not as fast acting as people think.
It's more not true than it is true.
Right. So sugar for sweeter tomatoes. I don't know where this came from. People say you put something like a scoop of sugar, like a handful of sugar, when you're planting tomato. You're just wasting your money. There's no scientific evidence.
You can't add something to the soil to change the compounds of the plant in which you're growing.
Right. So you can look for sweeter tomato varieties, which are typically going to be the reds and purples.
If you want something that's less acidic, you want to go something that's not red.
Right. So like a white tomato, yellow tomato, orange,
purple,
pink, purple.
Cherokee purple is a great flavored tomato, or any of the brandy wines are really good.
Yeah. So that's not a thing.
Stop doing it. I'm sure there's people who do it because grandma did it, and there's things in which there are things in which people have taught you how to do stuff because they were taught, because we as a society today in 2025 have more knowledge and information available to us. Yes, on both sides of the, I want to believe this, so I found proof of that. But down the line, here is evidence that these things don't work, and this is evidence that these things do work. We should not be in the situation where, we continue to do this because that's what we've always been told. I know it's wrong, but I'll keep wanting to do it.
What can you do?
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Pennies in your soil. Some people will give you a penny for your thoughts, but other people try to put it in your garden for some unreal reason.
So, I don't know where this came from, but
well, it's believed to provide copper to help the plants,
copper fungicide,
and to deter pests.
So this might have been true at one time, but now there's not much copper in pennies.
Well, it is important to consider that pennies cannot benefit. They can benefit your plant by increasing the copper level. They can't do that.
No.
And it can be harmful. Additionally, the myth of pennies can change the pH doesn't work out either.
And if you think about it, it could be harmful to the if you are going to till. Now you're tilling pennies, and then also worms. They might not like that.
Well, also there's also if they put pennies in the ground, it will help change the color of flowers, and that's not true either.
I never heard that myth. I have heard the pennies for the copper, the pennies for the copper may have been true. And
I don't think it was ever true. I think I think somebody just made it up and people ran with it because the lack of available proof of execution didn't exist 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Like sugar for your tomatoes.
Right.
All right. So we also have singing or talking to your plants. And this is true to an extent.
It's plausible. The Mythbusters did this in one of their mid-season episodes.
So the plants can sense the vibrations, and that could be good or bad or indifferent. And so singing, talking to them, I think it's kind of the thing. If it makes you feel better, then just do it.
Well, you can. I believe you can Google that and find out the Mythbusters have, and they did plants in which they.
There's also a study in Japan done on it too. Yeah.
So it is plausible, but things that are plausible. Water midday will burn the leaves.
So we've talked about. I think we've talked about this.
The belief of watering plants in midday will burn the leaves is a myth. While there are some water droplets on the leaves might act like tiny magnifying glasses, the effect of the is minimal and unlikely to cause any significant damage. Research scientists' evidence have suggested that midday watering does not lead to any type of scorching of the plant. I don't know where this came from. Somebody thought this was cute and decided to tell the world about it, but that doesn't hold true. Because here's the other thing. Let's put on our common sense hats, because all of you listeners, you guys are smart. So let's all gather together and follow me on this. It's sunny. Storm comes up. It rains. We get these thunderstorms. Midday, the storm blows out, clouds go away, sun comes out, plants are all wet. If this was true, all the plants would self-combust and burn up from all the heat from the sun magnifying through the water droplets, and we wouldn't have any vegetation. Rainforests wouldn't exist.
Now you got me thinking about the plants combusting in your backyard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Talking about a forest fire problem.
Yeah.
Smokey Bear would not be happy.
No, not at all. We don't want to displease Smokey the Bear. So, yeah. So that's not true. It's, I don't know.
There are people in this industry doing what we do today that are saying that that does exist.
I know.
They're on radio and podcasts that swear that this can't water because it's going to.
Well, they also believe that Epsom salt is the cure-all for all the things. So,
right.
Which we can talk about as well, because it's a widely.
Magnesium sulfate does help make plants greener and better flowers. That is proven. There's some proof there. But to be the magical fix-all to end-all, it's not the case. Now, you want to get, if you're going to add Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate, which is the cheaper way to go than going to the garden department and buying the actual magnesium, you want to get the non-fragrant kind. You want to get the pure Epsom salt that you would use for your feet or the soak in the tub. There is some benefit to that if your soil is needing it. You can add too much of anything to your soil and cause problems. You can add too much nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, magnesium, copper, whatever. You can mess the soil up greatly by adding too much of any one element.
Right. And that's something that people should definitely be aware of and that's another myth. Is just because it's natural or organic.
Well, it's good. It's good. Add more.
It's good. Add more. It's good. You can't harm your plants. It's even you've done this with the kitchen spray. You were like, it's natural, and then you sprayed it on something, and I was like, no, it is safer, but it's still a kitchen spray. So yeah. So you want to keep that in mind, unless you're using something that's like a homemade, like vinegar and essential oils or soapy water.
But that's even dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous. So, so you want to keep that in mind, that just because it's organic, just because it's natural, just because it's XYZ doesn't mean that it's.
Well, the other thing is, if the plant is showing symptoms of a certain characteristic that is not positive, it's wilting or it's got a discoloration or something, there are multiple possibilities of why that plant is doing it. The first one that comes up in your internet search not always is the correct answer. So you look for the plant is exhibiting this type of trait. Look it up. Oh, add X product. Oh, I'm going to add a lot of X product. When really it's about the third one down on the list, and you've added too much of X product, and now you have really caused more of a problem than the problem that was actually needed to be addressed, because you continue to add, oh, I got to keep adding more to this because that's what it says will fix the problem, and that wasn't the problem to begin with. There's plenty of there's plenty of ways in which to identify or give a general, here's where I need to start with this problem, and then start whittling away of, is that really it? Is that not?
Right. So you want to keep this in mind with anything, whether it be, your neighbor tells you to put tomato or put sugar in your tomatoes.
Now, some neighbors are phenomenal with knowledge.
Right. But what I'm saying is that you really want to think about, where did this come from?
Does it make sense?
Does it make sense? How ridiculous is it? If your neighbor is like, I like singing to my plants, don't argue with your neighbor who's singing to their plants. Because
that would answer a lot of the questions, what that noise is when you're sitting on the back patio and you can't figure out what that...
Sometimes you got to pick your battles, right? Like, this is not worth arguing
But
about.
You and I have talked to individuals, and very quickly we know that either they know what they're talking about, or they're just making stuff up, or they're just translating information because they have no confidence in it. There's certain people that, this is work, and boom, boom, this is the reasons why, and they break it down.
Yeah.
You know that.
Well, of course. Yeah, just like, hair for people sprinkle hair around their garden for rabbits or whatever. Raccoons. And it might work for some people, and for some people, those little guys don't care. So, yeah.
Well, what you should care about is summer's in full swing now, and the nasty Japanese beetles are here and wreaking havoc on anything that is growing in your garden.
If you're looking to successfully control beetles without damaging the environment, look no further than Beetle Gone from Phylum Bioproducts. Derived from a naturally occurring soil bacteria, Beetle Gone is the only organic solution that successfully controls beetle invaders. Just mix the powder with water and spray on your plants. Once ingested, the target pests will stop feeding and die, and since it's an organic BT product, it's a great choice to use on your fruits and veggies in addition to your own ornamental flowers and trees.
Not only does Beetle Gone work, but the best part about the product is it is safe to use around beneficial insects such as ladybugs, butterflies, and bees, and has no water toxicity. That's Beetle Gone from Phylum Bioproducts, BeetleGone.com. Hang out with us when we return. Dominique from FarmUnique.com will be with us. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Azure Standard is America's premier family-owned online store for organic foods and healthy products for your home and garden. They deliver directly to families and commercial customers through over 3,500 drop points across all 50 states. Azure Standard strives to make grocery shopping easy, bringing all your needs to one convenient pickup location. As a trusted national health food distributor, Azure Standard offers bulk and specialty health foods to communities nationwide. With over 12,000 products, each one is approved and carefully sampled to ensure the highest quality. Azure Standard holds firm to non-GMO, organic, and natural standards. From food and beauty products to household items, nutritional supplements, animal care, hobby supplies, and even garden essentials, Azure Standard truly has everything for your daily living. Visit AzureStandard.com, that's A-Z-U-R-E Standard.com. Use promo code Joey and Holly 15 at checkout to get 15% off for new customers who open an account for the first time and place a minimum order of $100 or more, shipped to a drop location of your choice. That's code Joey and Holly 15 at AzureStandard.com. Azure Standard is A-Z-U-R-E Standard.com. Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com.
Edmonds Roses is a family-owned and operated rose company with the largest selection of roses online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at edmondroses.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at edmondsroses.com.
RH Shumway is a family-owned and operated gardening company with a large selection of seeds and plants online. You can use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rhshumway.com. That's code 15TG25. Roots and Rhizomes is a family-owned and operated gardening company specializing in daylilies, irises, and perennials. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rootsrhizomes.com. That's code 15TG25.
Have insects such as aphids or fungal gnats invaded your plants? Fight back with Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bits. Organic Summit Year-Round Spray Oil kills insect pests on indoor and outdoor plants. All natural mosquito bits kill fungal gnats larvae in container plants. Both products are harmless to people, plants, and wildlife. Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bit are available at garden centers, hardware stores, and at SummitResponsibleSolutions.com. Tree Ivy Root Development System, the quickest way to get new trees on their feet. TreeIvy.com. Vermont Bean Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of seeds online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. Save your back. Easily and quickly remove trees and shrubs from your property with the Weed Wrench. Find it at weed-wrench.com. Made in the USA. Use coupon code WEED to save $10 off your Weed Wrench at weed-wrench.com. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us. Want more information about those coupon codes and the sponsors there that support the program? Go to our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab, the Radio 9 tab at the top of the page, or the Money tab. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Dominique K is a passionate and multifaceted Black millennial woman. She is the founder of Farm Unique and has a passion for educating others about growing food and just providing general knowledge about food resources. Welcome to the program, Dominique.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you, and we thank you for your time. How did you get into gardening, and how did Farm Unique come about from that?
Oh, I love telling this story. So like a lot of people or a lot of millennials my age, I got into gardening during the COVID-19 pandemic. I, at the time, was working in the corporate space, and I was working from home. And I was really looking for something that was more of a creative outlet for me. I am a pharmacist, so most of my day-to-day I'm using my science brain, and I really wanted kind of like an artistic outlet. And so I was thinking about what can I do? I grew up in the country setting. My grandfather was a cattleman, so I grew up in the country. So I wanted to do something that kind of got me closer to nature. And that's when I decided to start a garden. And so my husband and I, in the COVID-19 pandemic, we bought a home, and one of the things on my checklist was to purchase a home with a nice backyard that I could start a garden. And so I started a garden, and Farm Unique came about. One of my aunts, when I was thinking of, what am I going to call myself on the internet? Because I think I'm going to showcase my gardening journey on the internet. She came up with all of these names, and one of them that she came up with was Farm Unique. And she said, because you're a pharmacist, but also because farm is like a double entendre for farming. And then my name is Dominique. And so it's like a unique spin on my name, my profession, and farming. So that's where Farm Unique came from.
I love hearing stories. I grew up in the country and grew up on a farm, and I'm sure your grandfather was a hardworking man, just like my parents and my family was. Enjoy those stories, and then you being a pharmacist, transitioning into growing a food garden. I'm sure you see a lot of people popping pills instead of eating vegetables.
Oh.
That would I'm not a doctor, but if you eat better, you may not have to take so many of those pills.
Yes, yes. And I think that probably was something that was in the background of my mind. I, as a pharmacist, see a lot of people with different chronic illnesses, diabetes, hypertension. And a lot of times I think it's a myriad of things, but I think first of all, it is lifestyle, the way that they eat. But a lot of the times our eating habits come from our mental health status. And a lot of the patients that I work with, they have mental health issues that maybe are unchecked. And a lot of times depression and anxiety can lead you to unhealthy eating patterns. So for me, when I think about gardening, I think about how it's kind of like a therapy. Like it helps, ease my mind. It helps calm my thoughts, but it's also a healthy practice for me to grow food that I can consume that's healthier for me. And I think it's a really good balance. And that's one of the things that makes me so passionate about gardening, not just the nutritional aspect, but the therapy aspect of gardening.
And I'll remind our listeners, because we have listeners all over the country and all around the world, if you've got mental challenges, if you feel depressed, ask somebody for help. It's okay to say, hey, I need help. It's not a shame or a weakness. That's what we're all here for, to help each other.
Yes, and I agree with that so much. A lot of times we don't even realize that what we're dealing with is mental health illnesses, and depression and anxiety can show up different in so many people, just depending on who you are. If you're that busy working mom, your depression may not look like someone else's depression because you're on go all the time. So your depression may manifest itself in different ways. But I definitely think through gardening, spending that time in nature, it helps you to calm your mind and kind of sort through those racing thoughts that you have sometimes. And then it makes you more mindful of what you're eating, what you're putting into your body.
Definitely. So you are inspired by the philosophy Sankofa. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so Sankofa is an African word that means to go back and get it, or to learn from the past and bring those thoughts into the future. And so the reason why I love Sankofa is I think about the teachings of my grandparents and the teachings of my ancestors and those who came before me. My mother has told me stories about how whenever she was growing up, how it was common practice that they grew some of their own food. And so learning that knowledge from my elders and then being able to turn that knowledge around and teach it to people now is something that's really important to me. And learning from past lessons and then learning from the past and then bringing those lessons into the future is something that's really important to me. And so that's one of the principles that I kind of lead my life with, learning from those lessons, listening to my elders, and being able to take those lessons inward and give them to whoever is willing to listen to me and the lessons that I've learned.
Yeah, you've got to listen to the elders because they've been around a lot longer than you and I, and they've seen a whole lot more, and they know what not to do, that we're about to make that mistake. So don't do it because,
Yes, for sure. They know a lot more than we know, for sure.
And being in the garden, being in the woods, being in nature, it's just kind of a reconnection. It's a decompression, reconnection with whom you are. You really start thinking things that you normally wouldn't think while you're picking tomatoes or walking through and hearing the birds.
Yes. And another lesson that I think I've learned to accept more in the garden is I've learned to look at failures in a different way. Let's say you start growing a tomato plant, but you started too late. This actually happened to me. I started growing my tomatoes too late one year. And I learned the lesson of, okay, this tomato plant did not succeed. And instead of being defeated and feeling like I was a failure because I couldn't grow my tomatoes properly, I learned from that lesson, and I was able to take more time to research, when is the best time for me to grow tomatoes here in sunny Florida? And then I was able to take what I learned and put it into practice for future seasons. And I take that with me just through life. Like, I don't look at upsets the same way and things that didn't go my way the same way. I look at, could I learn from this? Just like I learned from the garden, what could I learn from this situation? And gardening has been something that has really driven that home for me.
Well, you speak about growing in Florida. Florida's hot all the time.
Yeah.
What are some tips that you have for growing in the heat, as many portions of the country are experiencing hotter times than they have in past years?
Oh my goodness. So this is really good. So I would say the first thing is to get familiar with your cool season crops versus the crops that can thrive in heat and humidity, especially for Florida because it's very hot and humid here. And so, for instance, one of the things that I love growing in my garden is collard greens. I'm a Southern girl, love growing my collard greens, love cooking collard greens, but collard greens do not like the heat. And so what I've learned is to start my collard greens at the tail end of the summer, start those seeds, and then plant them out in the fall time because collard greens actually can handle frost. So you can grow them from the fall into the winter, even if it snows where you are, because they can handle some frost. And so getting familiar with the cool season crops versus the crops that can take a little bit of heat, or the heat tolerant crops. So those heat tolerant crops right now would be things like cucumbers and sweet potatoes and okra. Those are the things that will thrive in warmer temperatures. And then preserving things like your lettuces, your broccolis, your Brussels sprouts, reserving those for either very early in the spring or a little later in the summer so you can take those into the fall. That would be like one of the biggest tips I would give gardeners who are facing gardening in those extreme heat and the really high temperatures, is to just get familiar with the crops that you're growing.
That's some really great advice for growing in the heat. So tell us more about your blog and what our listeners can expect when they check it out.
Yeah, so I just actually went through a revamp of my blog. And so I sent out my first actual new blog post. I retitled my blog the Garden Bestie Bulletin. And so what I will be sending out in my blog is, or what readers can find in my blog is, quick tips or easy to follow tips that will help them in their garden based on the season that we're in. So I'll look to give tips based on where we are. So right now, giving tips about gardening in the summer and just giving things that can keep you on track. I believe in planning out your garden is what will kind of lead to more success. So giving you ideas of, okay, hey, we're in the month of June. I need you to start thinking about your fall garden so you can get your seeds ordered, get your seeds started, giving you tips like that so you can be more prepared for your garden. And what I'm looking to do is take some of the struggle and challenges of gardening away from those that are starting gardening. I think a lot of times when you're a beginner gardener, there's so much you don't know, and there's a lot of easy mistakes that you can make that will just can discourage you from gardening. So I'm looking to share all of those different things in my blog in bite-sized pieces that aren't overwhelming and things that are easy to follow to help people have better success in their garden.
Yeah, I think if I was a new gardener and I was just starting out wanting to start a garden, I think it'd be easier for me to fix a riding lawnmower that was broken than try to figure out how to plant all the things and do it right and do it this way. That's why you individuals like you and us, we try to help people we made the mistake so you don't have to.
Yes, for sure. Yes. I say that all the time on social media. I say, I will experiment so that you don't have to learn from a bad experiment. So I'll experiment and then I'll come and I'll teach you what I learned from that experiment so you don't waste your money and your time.
Well, you utilize neem oil and diatomaceous earth. What do you use them for mostly and why? I know we've dabbled with the neem oil and it has a terrible smell to it, but it's very effective.
Yes, I don't like the way that it smells, but what I like to use them for is whenever my pests are out of control. So diatomaceous earth is probably the one I reach for first. Here in Florida, we have fire ants, and I know everyone is familiar with an ant, but Florida has a special type of fire ant. They like to swarm. This is why you don't see me barefoot in my garden, because I have mounds of fire ants all around my yard, and sometimes they come into my garden bed. So diatomaceous earth is what I primarily use to treat those fire ants. And it's really good for a lot of those soft body insects that are harmful or that can, be a nuisance in the garden, like your aphids. So I'll dust it on things like my collard greens, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, lettuce, and it's really good for the pests that like to dwell in the green leafy vegetables. For the neem oil, same difference. The thing about neem oil for me, I like to use it when it's more rainy, because diatomaceous earth, you can't use it a lot when it rains because it's a powder. And so when it rains, you got to reapply it. So when it's rainier outside, I'll use neem oil because it is an oil. It'll stick a little longer. I don't like to use either one too much because I'm really trying to be more kind to the environment. And I understand that pollinators can be harmed by both neem oil and diatomaceous earth. So I'm very, very conservative in using each one of them. But if it calls for it, if I just cannot get those pests to leave the vegetables alone, I'll pull out one of them depending on the time of year.
That's very helpful information. So we really appreciate having you on the program. How can people find out more about you, your blog, etc.?
Yes, so you can find me on my website. It's www.farmunique, and that's PharMunique.com. I'm also at Farmunique on Instagram and at Farmunique _ on TikTok. I'm also over on YouTube under Farmunique, giving all the same information that I provide across all of my social media platforms, and that's where you can find me.
Well, Dominique, we greatly appreciate the time, the information you've shared, not only with Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. We thank you for that very much.
Thank you all so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you this evening.
Absolutely. And when we return, it's Your Garden Questions and Our Garden Answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now, 1-800-927-SHOW.
4-Jar Canning Supply, your one-stop shop for all your canning needs, where old ways meet new in every jar. They are a family with decades of home canning experience, offering top-quality products and outstanding service. Never run out of canning lids again. Whether you're a seasoned canner or just starting out, their extensive range of canning products will elevate your canning game. 4jars.com. Inspired by the homemade preserves of our childhoods, they want to share that same joy with you. They deeply care about your family's health and understand the importance of homemade, nutritious meals. That's why they offer high-quality products to help you preserve your food. Quality canning lids, pressure canners, vacuum seal machines, and all the tools you need to get the job done. 4Jars has you covered. Our canning lids provide the perfect airtight seal for any regular, wide, or gym-sized jar. With the thickest lids on the market, they provide long-lasting freshness, up to 18 months, and are rust-resistant, ensuring your preserves stay secure. Use code 4JARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars.com. That's FORJARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars, FORJARS.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear, non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com.
A non-selective herbicide that is also USDA Bio-Preferred certified? You bet. Say goodbye to Roundup and hello to No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. No More Weeds kills weeds with no harsh chemicals and no glyphosate. Safe around pets, No More Weeds has a proprietary sticking agent to use around gardens, pools, decks, patios, anywhere there are weeds. Available online at natgreenproducts.com, Amazon, and Walmart.com. Order yours today. The same great company that brings you no more bugs. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
One Sweet Earth makes the last garden bed you'll ever need. Strong, simple, sustainable. One Sweet Earth beds slide together in minutes. No tools, no rot, no junk. Durable, non-toxic, woman-owned, made in the USA. Visit onesweetearth.com. Chip Drop is a website you can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door. For free, Chip Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account.
Want bigger blooms and better yields? Without the hassle, Carricade makes gardening easy with eco-friendly, effective solutions. Rated 4.8 stars, trusted by growers like you. Shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's RADIO10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com.
Mantis garden tiller cultivators are the perfect solution for any garden. With their gas-powered 2-cycle or 4-cycle engine, these powerful machines can till 9 or 16 inches of land without you breaking a sweat. And it doesn't stop there. Mantis's optional attachments allow you to aerate, plow, and more with the snap of a finger. Engineered with durability in mind, Mantis tiller cultivators will be your guaranteed garden companion for a long time. You can find more out and details at mantis.com. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you around. Want to find out more about those coupon codes and those sponsors? Find those all out at our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab and the Money tab at the top of the page. Time for your garden questions and our garden answers. You got a question, we've got an answer. Send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and we will get you an answer, or you can give us a call toll free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469.
So, we had a question come in from Iowa. I cut off my garlic scapes, and now there's growth from the same spot that is already 3 inches and growing. Can I cut it off again and eat it, or would that be bad for the plants and bulb production?
Well, there would be no issue. You could always wait longer to harvest your scapes, and then that regrowth is just going to be another green garlic flavored deal. And I don't know how edible or how chewable it's going to be.
Yeah, you could try it. It's kind of like equivalent to like onion chives type of thing, but garlic scapes, if that makes sense. It's going to have that garlic scape flavor. Like
maybe even more tender. It'd probably be tender.
Yeah, it might be more tender.
Yeah.
You could try it. It's not going to harm the plant.
Well, and the reason why we're removing the scapes on the hardneck garlic is simply to reduce the energy that the plant is exhibiting into seed production. If left alone, a seed pod will form a big flower. And by cutting that off, we're putting more energy into bulb finalization, basically development, right before 3 weeks following that, 3 to 4 weeks, you'll see the lower leaves begin to die off, and that's the time you would harvest your garlic. So that's why we do that for the hardneck. Softneck, they don't have scapes. So, next question here.
I do
the trellis.
Hello, I do vertical gardening with the vegetable plants. I use pig fencing to make arbors so that the plants can climb up to be attached to it. It's beginning to rust a little. Is this going to affect the plants in the negative way? And this is from Michigan, from Wham Radio 1600.
Yeah.
And can you explain what pig fencing is?
Pig fencing is a panel. It's a round, heavy gauge fence that you would put for cattle or pigs to confine them in captivity in order for raising them. So you don't have, if it begins to rust, generally rust is on a pig fencing or paneling is unlikely to have any significant harm, as rust is primarily iron and oxide, which is relatively it's not absorbent, not easily absorbed by plants, so you would have no issue. If you do feel that it's beginning to rust a lot, because these are coated with galvanized, in some instances, you can always take a wire brush and clean the area that's rusty and hit it with a paint of some sort to slow down the rust. Or at the end of the season or beginning of the season, you can paint them to help prevent the rust in those paneling. And you can buy these paneling 8, 12, 16 foot, and people do arbors and have flowers and ivy growing on them. Easy to utilize, hard to get from the farm store with a 16-foot panel in the back of a pickup truck, but it can be folded up without crimping and folding in on itself. It just kind of...
That's what I was looking for, is the idea of how large they could be.
All right. I'm trying the vinegar water mixture to spray on caterpillars and insects. Does it need to be rinsed off, or can it stay on?
So please don't use vinegar on your plants. It's a natural herbicide, and it could kill the green growing things.
It's non-selective. It's vinegar. It's an acidic.
So a good solution would be to use diluted BT, which is Bacillus thuringiensis. I always murder that word.
If you search BT organic, it'll
is what
come
you can find. For worms and caterpillars, it's a natural organic. If it's a situation where it's something that you get frequently, like that are from moths, you can use a tight netting that works for a lot of people. But the BT, you would just dilute it according to the directions on the package, and then you can use a pump sprayer or just like a regular bottle sprayer.
Yeah, so I think we need to address this. Getting a lot of social media traffic about using banana water, soaking bananas, using the water to hydrate and fix the potassium deficiency, or what I think is in my plants. I put it on my plants, and it does wonderful things. It does wonderful. We got to address this.
Yeah.
Bananas do carry a certain level in the skin, a certain amount of potassium. It is so minute that it doesn't benefit your plants whatsoever. If you have a true potassium.
So the concept is the potassium.
The concept is let's soak banana peels and water
to get the
plants.
potassium.
Yeah, to get the potassium.
Yeah, and then I guess people are spraying their plants with it.
They swear by it, that it's a magical fix-all, end-all.
I do kind of wonder if it's because they're just watering their plants, and that's why it's fixing a problem. But yeah, any amount of bananas that you soak, unless you have an insane amount of bananas, I don't think it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference
how much you put in the compost pile. You're just causing a lot of extra work for you by soaking bananas, and then tricking yourself in thinking that, it's going to make the plants grow even better.
It's more beneficial, or if you don't have a compost pile, just go dig a little hole and bury it, and that will decompose over the summer, winter, fall. There's no point in doing that. That's just extra work. I've seen people do that with citrus peels and kind of creating their own DIY citrus cleaner spray, and your mileage would vary on that. I think they soak them in vinegar though, so don't spray your plants with vinegar, as we just talked about. But there's other uses you can use for that. But for when it comes to banana peels, you just want to compost them, bury them in your soil, whatever.
Yeah, stop creating extra work for yourself. Well, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Miss any portion of the program today, would like to revisit it, you can certainly do that by going to your favorite podcast platform and searching the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show. Full shows and segments of all past 9 seasons, 297 episodes can be found there. Tune in the program next week, where we'll be discussing flowers in which you can plant in July that will blossom and bloom, as well as natural ground covers. Our guest is Amy from FrontyardVeggies.com will be with us, and will answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.